Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we'll be going over some big updates for the new car market. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then some of the information provided in today's video comes from Cox Automotive. Let's get into it. So let's go over the big headline figures in regards to what's happening within the new car market. So the first big figure is that average transaction prices have gone down year over year with new cars. Now it's not a huge decline, it's a 1.4% decline, but this is not what you see in a normal car market. In a normal car market, you pretty much always see a year over year increase with car prices. So the fact that we've seen a decline with these transaction prices year over year with new cars shows the overall weakness within the new car market. Now this is happening at the same time that incentives are at an all-time high in terms of what we've seen over the last few years. But despite the fact that prices are down year over year, we saw a slight month over month increase, especially in the luxury car segment. And a big part of that is because of Tesla. And so there's quite a bit for us to dive into today. So first off, when it comes to new vehicles, the average price paid for a new vehicle is just under $48,000. So it seems like we've been in that range for quite some time. And so we have seen some ups and downs, but prices overall have been stable in that roughly $48,000 range. But the interesting thing is that prices with non-luxury cars versus luxury cars are doing a completely different thing right now. So with non-luxury cars, they had a price increase month over month of less than 1%. The average price paid for a non-luxury car is just over $44,000. And incentive spend on non-luxury cars has actually boosted, which is very interesting. Whereas with luxury cars, it's kind of a little bit of a different story. So prices year over year are down by a pretty large amount, 7.4%, but month over month prices increased quite substantially with luxury cars, especially with Tesla. They had a 5.2% increase month over month. The average price paid for a luxury car now is just under $63,000, and incentive spend has slightly decreased with luxury cars. So again, looking at the data, basically non-luxury cars have pretty much stayed the same price over the last few months, whereas luxury cars have slightly gone up in price, and there are more incentives on non-luxury, fewer incentives on luxury cars. And then if we quickly dive into EVs, which is kind of its own category, the average price paid is just under $52,000, which is significantly less than last year, $13,000 less than last year, but it's a slight increase, and this means that electric cars on average are still quite a bit more expensive, almost $10,000, not quite, but $8,000 more expensive than non-luxury cars at this point. And there's a lot of electric cars on the market that are not luxury, and so it still shows that electric cars are more expensive on average. And so that's the data. Now let's talk about what this actually means for the overall car market. So first off, when it comes to non-luxury cars, there has been a pretty large inventory buildup with non-luxury cars across the board. Even manufacturers like Toyota, that is the most constrained manufacturer in the car industry from a day supply number perspective, like they are selling out the fastest, they have inventory now. They have the most inventory that I have seen in quite some time, especially with some models like the Tacoma, for example. The 4Runner is another good example. The RAV4, there's quite a bit of inventory available with that as well. And so this inventory buildup explains why there is some pricing weakness, as it just comes down to simple supply and demand. Even cars that are reasonably priced, right, they have to potentially have some sort of discount on them because there's just so many of them available. Whereas on the luxury side of things, it's a little bit of a different story. The thing that I've noticed is, yes, there are some luxury brands that definitely have quite a bit of inventory, but there are some cars that are still pretty difficult to get, and it seems like the buying pace hasn't really slowed down all that much. And the luxury car market has actually increased in market share. It's almost 20% of the overall market. And so luxury car buyers are still buying cars at a pretty quick rate. And so the supply-demand dynamics are still in favor of the buyer with luxury cars, but less so than what you see with non-luxury cars. Now with electric cars, it's the Wild West. It really is right now. And the reason why it's so crazy with electric cars is because of what Tesla is doing. And Tesla is really showing the US market what direct to consumer sales can do. It's pretty crazy. Again, they can just have snap of the finger price changes. You can't have that with the dealership network because the manufacturers, right, they're selling the cars to the dealers for a set amount of money. And so if they want to change prices, it's a slow process, whereas Tesla can act a lot quicker. And that has been both positive and negative for buyers. And I'm not going to dive too deep into that in today's video, but it's definitely, causing some interesting market dynamics within the electric car world, because you basically have Tesla making these snap decisions when it comes to pricing. And then all of the automakers in their slower way have to kind of follow suit with what Tesla is doing, right? Tesla slashed prices for most of this year. So then other automakers, right, they have to slowly do that. And so you have the situation now where Tesla just increased their prices, and then all the other automakers, they still have these big discounts on their electric cars because, again, the processes are slower. So it's interesting. So overall, the new car market is not in free fall like what some people might say. There's definitely more inventory available across the board, but cars are also still selling at a pretty reasonable pace. But a big part of the reason as to why cars are still selling is because dealers are more willing to negotiate, and manufacturers are also more willing to negotiate. You see bigger dealer discounts, and you also see bigger manufacturer rebates. Again, the numbers show that although we saw a little bit less incentive spend with luxury cars, we're still at all-time highs with incentive spend over the course of the last few years with cars across the market. And so we are still in what I would consider a buyer's market, despite what some people might say about the prices being super high. I get that. But when it comes to, the dynamics of what's happening in the market, supply and demand and everything, yeah, it's definitely more in favor of the buyer. So let me know what you guys think about the new car market. Let me know where you think things are going, because it's getting pretty interesting. I'll see you.